Hey, this is John from ScopeStack. I want to walk you through our brand new guided scoping experience. Let's dive right in. So first off, if you've been a ScopeStack user for a long time, you'll see a brand new Create Project screen right here. So all the same information, just a little bit different layout, and hopefully a little more user-friendly. So again, if you've connected your instance with a CRM of some sort, you'll see your drop-down CRM opportunities here. Again, same functionality, nothing there has changed. But again, just trying to focus on, right, what is the important information on this very first screen, like the client name, project name, right, and some additional fields there. So once you set that up, you pop you straight into, let me show you this. So we actually have, if you've been on ScopeStack for a while and you want to use the advanced project editor, you have an off-ramp right here. So feel free to click Go to Project Editor, and that will take you through the experience that you've been used to for the past several years. If you'd like to continue down this guided one, which I'll show you today, just go ahead and click Continue. All right, so again, not any new fields necessarily, but just better experience. So the only required field on this page is the customer summary. So whether it's the executive summary or the solution summary, right? Again, just a quick reminder, these are those areas where we have purposely not automated. We feel like it's whoever is scoping the project, it's their requirement really to provide a little bit of narrative around what the client was talking about. Make sure you tell the client that you heard what they are saying, right? So executive summary is, very typically like some business outcome type language. And the solution summary is, how do we use technology to drive to that business outcome, right? So typically very much more detailed. Again, you can feel free to use those two boxes however you want. That's just a little bit of guidance and advice from our side. So customer contacts, again, who are you working with, right? If it's, Billy Johnson, the CEO, and fill out all this information. We also have the ability to, pull some of this data from your CRM. And so if you're interested in pulling more data from the CRM opportunity, please just reach out to our team. Whether it's support side or sales side, depending where you're coming from. And we'd be glad to have a conversation with how you enhance that integration experience. Again, notes, it's really just some context for this project. So as you're going through approval workflow or you're inviting a collaborator internal to your team to help you scope it out, notes are typically just used for that context, not usually used in the document at the end of the day. So feel free to write anything in there for your team. All right, so meat of building out the project, as you all know, is adding services to it. So I'll walk you through a couple of these, if not all of them. Add services from a survey. So I'll do that first, right? And so if you're familiar with questionnaires or surveys, that is where this feature is now living. So it's now a part of the scoping experience, right? And so as a wireless survey, I used to do a lot of wireless survey scoping. And so, if I knew some of the basic information like number of floors, the big stuff like square footage, maybe some ceiling height, but also, what kind of applications are we going to run on the wireless, and then also the facility type, because that all impacts our square footage per access point coverage. And so that was important for the calculation. So, when we first built this feature, it was, hey, let's just have the form so we make sure we're collecting the right information. We now have the ability in ScopeStack to calculate and kind of programmatically recommend the right services, right? So you can see based off of this that, it's adding a router for whatever reason, just to show you that I can add different things, but then also adding, the wireless site survey based on those inputs. So again, I can kind of come through here and review the services that have been recommended for this project, and I can go ahead and apply those. So another option for adding services to your projects is using blueprints. So a blueprint, by definition, is a collection of your standard services in your ScopeStack account. And so if I was to click into Add from Blueprint, you'll see a collection of the blueprints that I have to choose from. Again, just to give you a quick preview here, because I don't want to add them all from a blueprint. I just want to go add a few standards, but just to give you an example, right? So this is 3 phases, there are multiple services, and the implement phase and a couple others. And so if I was to use this and apply it to my project, then it automatically add those services in there, right, with the associated language. So blueprints are a great way to scale and, again, bring that speed and efficiency if you don't have surveys built out. But what I want to do is add from a standard. So standards are what they sound like. So all the standard service offerings that you have available to you inside your account. And so maybe I want to do an AD server installation, and I want to do this Azure Network Security group. So I can choose those. I can kind of pick and choose the components that I want for this particular project. Again, the idea of bringing that flexibility, yet consistency and speed all at one time. So I want to add those standards to my project. I'll go ahead and just choose a resource because it wasn't predefined for me. And if I choose that top one, it'll just roll through for all the others. So I'll go ahead and apply that standard. So what I would expect to see here are all the services that were added from my survey, as well as the standards, right? And so I can see my two here, as well as the AD installation, and then the Azure Network Security group. So again, this is a good example. It's a single phase project, but there are a lot of detail services in here. At this point, I can come through and I can reorder some of the steps of this project. I can reorder the services themselves, right? So if I want to move all this, collapse it all, just give me a better way to move it. I can say, oh, we're going to do the AD stuff first. So there's a way to restructure that, and that will impact the document and how it looks at the end of the day. Right. So again, feel good with this. I can also get a summary of just all the count of services and subservices, how many resource types are assigned, and the total hours in this phase. So again, this is a lot of feedback from our current customer base. Is I want a very quick view into what this looks like. Now, at the end of the day, if you don't have services, you don't have blueprint or standards or anything built out, this is your very first project, you can always click Add Custom. So Add Custom is just the idea of, hey, I just want to start scoping, right? So, I have all these services in the implement phase. I want to add a planning phase, build it into a particular service category. We can just choose one for now. And we'll call it Microsoft Planning. Right. And so with that, we can either, choose some hours here, consultant, whatnot, or I can add another service. But at the end of the day, top level, what do I want to do there? And then I can come in and say, hey, this is, we're going to do like some client interviews. That's going to take 4 hours. Yeah, consultant's good. I want another subservice. We're going to do like some whiteboarding. Right. And so at this point, I can just generally start building out my project as I go. So the cool part about that is, once this becomes an approved project, there's a way to save all these into settings so that you can turn them into standards later if you want. All right, cool. So I feel like we're good on this project. We have all the services added. Let's move on to the next step. So service descriptions. This is where we have the opportunity to add language or review any language for a pre-built service. So I try to choose some that had some language in them. As you can see here, there's some language across all of these. And again, this language will only show up based on two scenarios. One, that it's in scope, so the quantity is not zero or it's not deleted. And then the document template in the background that you choose to generate is actually wanting to pull information from this field. So again, that could be another video or walk you through some of that information. But for now, right, this is really just an opportunity for you to review some language. And so I'll add some for our custom service up here just to show you at a high level what this looks like in the generated document. So we are going to plan for Microsoft stuff. I can't spell Microsoft, so cool. Still can't spell it. Right, so review the language, go through and review all that. Next step is payment terms. So, the worst part to me, anytime I was scoping out a project prior to Scope Stack was I got to the bottom and it was, pricing. I know how long it's going to take. I know the resources. I have a price, but I don't really know how to present that to the client. And your organization might be the same, right? Tommy might be doing it one way. Billy might be doing it another way. But the idea with payment terms is how do you define just a very simple set of options, whether it's a fixed fee or time materials. It's we want the client to pay us 25% up front, 75% on project acceptance. Like, just what do you want that to look like? And based on choosing an option here will dictate how we present pricing in the document here in a second. So again, you can configure your payment terms in your account. These are just some kind of default best practice ones that we see pretty common. So what I'll do is I'll just do a fixed fee, 2 payment, services only payment term. Click save, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second. All right, so we're at the point where we need to review our project. So here's the firewall upgrade, high-level details, summary, any language we built into the summary section, as well as what services are built into the project, right? And so you can see, if I want to click into these and see some more detail, you can see the the subservices and everything there. Again, the purpose of this view is not to drive into all the details. I can show you where to find that, but really just a summary, right? So pricing, again, we're using that fixed fee payment term where they're going to pay us 25% up front when they sign the project. We're going to invoice them 25% of this number. And then 75% we will invoice after the project's completed. So at this point, right, I can actually generate a document. So click, this is the one I want, professional services template. Go ahead and generate that document from here. So what this will do is it'll compile all the information that you built in the UI. It'll use your standardized document template in the background to drive your brand in a consistent format regardless of who's scoping. So whether you're acquiring organizations, growing by M&A, whether you're trying to enable your existing pre-sales team, or you're limited with how many pre-sales technical experts you can bring onto the business right now, and you want some junior engineers or sales or anyone really to be equipped to scope out a project. The idea is that they will have the capability to do that with this new guided flow because it's so much more intuitive for them. And again, I'll hop into our advanced project editor here in a second and show you what that looks like. So once I click the generate button, right, a statement of work generated in our format. So kind of just walking you through what this looks like, just to remind you what we added in here. Here are all the version numbers, all the information that we added, executive summary, solution description, and then as well as some dynamic phases, right? So this phase was consistent. This is all dynamic based on what we added, into the scope, right? These are the language fields that we reviewed. So any language coming in here. And again, the pricing being a 25-75% split of the project price. So again, at the end of the day, you've gone through scoping out your very first project in our guided flow, much more intuitive. However, in another video, I'll walk you through our advanced project editor to give you some more detail around each of those individual components in much more detail. So appreciate your time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our sales team, sales@scopestack.io, or our support team at support@scopestack.io. Thanks for your time.